What a bummer. The Seattle Seahawks lose to the San Francisco 49ers at home, 17-13 in a home opener that feels a little bit like a gut punch. A game that was a lost opportunity in both the short and the long term and the grand scale and in the micro, as you really felt like this was an opportunity for your Seahawks to not only get a week one win, but to get up on top of a division foe at that, making this game in itself kind of carry a little bit of weight. You're not going to see this Niner team back around again until the end of the season. And yet the Seattle Seahawks didn't even look like they were ready to stand toe-to-toe with a Niner team that was walking into this game as vulnerable as we have seen since Shanahan took over as head coach for them. No starting safety out there with Malik Mustafa. Another safety that you lost in free agency this offseason. Dre Greenlaw lost in offseason free agency. Javarius Ward lost in offseason free agency. Flipping out a couple of defensive tackles for new defensive tackles. 3 rookies along that defensive line. You flip it over to the offense. You've got no Brandon Ayuk, no more Deebo Samuel. You have Juwan Jennings missing most of training camp and obviously not looking particularly ready for this week one affair. And then you have George Kittle going out in the first half. To say that this was a Niner team that was ready for you to strike, ready for you to take them down, ready for you to go take advantage is to undersell it. And yet your Seattle Seahawks really struggled to find any kind of footing in this game. And while, yeah, the defense came in and made some big plays down the stretch, gave your opportunity to the offense to say, hey, go take this thing, man. We're going to do what we can. Got you a couple of big turnovers. They also allowed almost 400 yards on the day. They also allowed 9 of 16 on third and fourth downs on the day, allowing long, sustaining drives of the 49er offense to just get right up on the football field, control the clock. Again, despite having any real playmakers outside of Ricky Pearsall to throw the ball to. Now, it's not the defense's fault in this game. If you're going to point blame, really, it's going to be to the offensive side of the ball. And Clint Kubiak's offensive attack looked disjointed, looked out of sorts, kind of looked a little bit familiar to the offensive attack that we saw last season with Ryan Grubb. It was weird in some of the play calling, where some trick plays and were a throw back behind the line of scrimmage, a lot of heavy shotgun usage. They did try to run a little bit here and there early on, especially to the outside, but then part and parcel of the issue there was same issues that came up last year, which is that you have a lot of penetration. You have a lot of defensive linemen pushing your offensive linemen into the backfield. You have a lot of very little daylight for the running backs to find to get anywhere and make anything really happen. And so then it becomes a little bit on the offense to just pass the ball, and not just pass the ball, but be in a lot of situations where you're in third and long. And that's really a big difference in this game of why you see the Niners converting all those third and fourth downs and why you see the Seahawks offense not being able to do so on the other side of it is they're living in the third and twos, the third and threes, the third and ones. How many of those did the Niners have on this day? The Seahawks instead are living in more of these third and sevens and third and eights and third and nines. Really, really tough conversions. And the Seattle Seahawks offensively just found no rhythm in the day. Darnold wasn't bad in this game. I know he has the fumble at the end in this one where Bosa's coming around the edge and look at Bosa just basically pushes Lucas into him really fast post snap. You barely have even a second to get the arm back to throw the ball. It's not like Darnold was going through multiple reads there. And when you look at Darnold and how he played throughout the day, he was pretty on point with what he was being asked to do. Was there a little bit of training wheels being put on for him in order to accommodate him, like they were being a little bit protective of him at times, especially when it came to maybe pushing the ball as much down the football field here and there? Yeah, maybe a bit on that, sure. But I don't think this was as much his fault in this game. He made the throws with the opportunities he was given. You only passed the ball like 23 times in this game. There's only so many attempts there to be had. And again, knowing a lot of those throws were going to be high leverage throws, you in those third and longs. They weren't going to be some of what we were getting from the preseason and what we expected we were going to get from Clint Kubiak's offense, which is sometimes the easy rollouts from under center, the quick little throws out in space to get the guy into rhythm. There wasn't as much of that. There wasn't as much of opportunity for that. Some of it really built on the fact that you really wanted to run the ball offensively and you could get just nowhere. Again, that despite the fact Niners starting so many rookies and changing out so many new parts on that defensive front, didn't seem to make a difference. You couldn't make any hay. There was no holes to be found. And boy, was it a struggle today offensively for you in just about every way. Even the good you feel good about, Jackson Smith and Jigba getting over 100 yards, and it seemed like Sam Darnold didn't trust anybody but him on this day, has a couple of bad moments himself. He's got the fumble down at the end of the game where you're driving down, you're trying to get into field goal range, you have a chance there to maybe go up by 6 with a field goal. If he keeps that catch and keeps going, you still have a third down after that. Horrible moment there on that fumble. You got a 9 route down the field where Darnold hits him right in stride there, not in stride, but puts the ball in the right spot for him to make the catch. Tough catch, granted. It's not easy, but he's already reeled it in. He's done all of the hard work, and then he just gets the ball kind of ripped out at that moment. So even the good that he gave you in this game, there's still some blights down upon it. As well, like the defense in the game, some big moments in this game, some real key plays from players where they're just laying their heart on the line. Julian Love jumping Superman style to come in there and block the kick at one point in this game. You've got moments like that you feel from this defense, and yet there were consistent drives throughout from this Niner offense, and yet you were unable to get much pressure with your front four on Brock Purdy, as he had times where it felt like in the pocket he was able to sit back there and operate really well. Now, I'm being told that he was under a lot of pressure, like over 50% of his snaps, but it did not feel like that when you watched the football game with him. It felt like he had all day and a Sunday afternoon to make himself a sandwich and maybe have himself a little dessert and maybe a little drink. All day back there sitting in the pocket to work his way through multiple reads. Even the play where he gets a touchdown at the end, he starts to one side of the field, then he just kind of goes, let me go check over to this side of the field and see what's happening here. Oh, I guess I'll finally throw the ball in for a touchdown. There we go. We got it on that. So weird that you weren't able to get more pressure with an offensive line of the Niners, which is not exactly some uber strength for them. And Trent Williams is obviously really good, and Dominic Pooney's really good, but you would have thought you would have been able to get after them. A little bit strange as well with McDonald, where I would have thought he would have brought a little bit more blitzes and he would have tiled up the heat a little bit more often, especially from the middle of the defense as far as from the Seahawks perspective. A lot of outside corner blitzes, which was strange at times there, and then not as much blitzing. And you're trying to trust the front four to get home, and then they're not getting home, and you're dropping 7 back in coverage, and yet still Brock Purdy is finding places for you to attack and go after and complete balls. Guys like Devin Witherspoon had kind of a rough day. Now, it got rough on Devin's part because you had Nick Emawari, who you lose on the very first series to an ankle injury. So Witherspoon, who's been playing outside cornerback all of training camp, has to get kicked inside to the slot now, which I think he's comfortable in there, but he's been practicing on the outside. And so it's a little bit of you got hit 2 for 1 on that injury front then. He looked out of sorts at times. And then you've got Riq Woolen. And Riq Woolen is such a hard player to come to a conclusion on because there is no more talented cornerback in this sport than Riq Woolen. There's no more naturally gifted with the build he's got kind of player in combination, size, length, and all of that than Riq Woolen. He's got all the ability in the world to be the best corner in this sport, but he has those mental moments that Mike McDonald has talked about himself where things can just break down, where he can be locked in snap after snap after snap, and then he has this snap here where he's not locked in. He has kind of a brain fart and a bad thing happens, and not just a bad thing, but the worst thing. The 9 route thing that happened in this game where he gets hit over the top late in this game on that final drive by the 49ers on the 9 route. Now, it's a stop and go route that's going to be tough on a guy like Woolen is being stop and start at 6'3". That's why they're running that route. It's harder on those bigger cornerbacks. But he's actually able to be in pretty good position after the stop and start part of that. He's running full speed, balls in the air, and then suddenly, for some odd reason, Woolen decides to take his foot off the gas. He's running full speed, and then he's not running full speed, and then he realizes he needs to run full speed, so then he tries to turn it back up and run full speed, but he's already given up the cushion to Parasol and given up the big completion. It's very similar to a play last year with the Green Bay Packers on a deep ball. Same kind of thing. He's in the right position, keep running hard, look back for the ball, make a play on the ball, but the second he looks back for the ball, it's like his legs say, okay, we stop moving now. Very strange, and you don't know what to make of it, especially with the game on the line. And then you get another play just a few plays later in this game that was again reminiscent of last year in a similar kind of play where he's got a ball coming into him in the back of the end zone late on that throw that I talked about with Purdy coming back the other way, and he sits there and the ball's coming into him and he sort of jumps up and then goes backwards on the jump. So he's hoping the ball not only comes to him, but comes to him with him going backwards. The receiver jumps forward towards the ball, attacks the ball, and he gives up the completion, the touchdown, and not game over there, but basically that put them up, and then you had to go score on the offensive side of the ball. But it was very similar to a play last year against the Rams in overtime, where he's sort of standing there flat-footed. Stafford throws him the ball. All he's got to do is go attack the ball. Instead, he stands there flat-footed, kind of drifts backwards, lets the receiver undercut him for the ball, and you're going, what are you doing there, Riq? This is the biggest moment in the game. This is when you need to be most locked in, not the least locked in. Of course, in that Rams game, it was not 2 plays later that he ends up giving a touchdown over the top in a covers its zero blitz situation because he gets caught peeking into the backfield. Don't know what to make of Woolen. He's in a contract year. The kid's got all the ability in the world, and I hope he turns it on as we go through the rest of this season. But there are some very frustrating plays that he puts on tape. Plays that are just where you go, man, I got to have you better than this. You can't control the physical. You can't control getting beat from time to time, but you can control the mental side of this, and you got to be locked in every single play. Those were 2 big plays in this game that just stand out hugely, and especially conversely when you measure it up against some of the other plays that were made in this game from some of the other defensive players and big moments going out there like Josh Jobe did, or like we saw Julian Love doing, and you go, boy, that just you're on the other side of that a little bit, and it does stand out in this game majorly. The defense has got a lot to, I think, build upon overall in this game and being stout. They may have been a lot, but they didn't break. I think that there's certainly more room for them to get a little bit more creative with the stacked boxes because there's a lot of success to be had with that, and I just don't think you brought that out as much, or at least more blitzing, or one of the two, other than just sitting in the front four. There was times I'm watching the defense today. It was a little bit like watching Coach Carroll's defense. But again, let me not bury the lead on this side of things. This was today about your offensive ineptitude as much as anything else. You were not able to sustain the drives, something we thought we were getting in with Kubiak. You weren't getting as much of the positive plays in the running game, something we thought we were going to get with Kubiak. And what I mean by that is, in the running game that we're running prior, and sometimes the gap-based stuff, you can get more of the negative plays, but then you get more of the bigger plays, the more of the chunk runs. Within the zone scheme, you're supposed to get more of the consistent, hey, we're getting the 3 yards in a cloud of dust at least. We're setting the table up to get into those third and shorts to make them easier conversions. But instead, what you were getting in this game, much like you've gotten so very often in the past recent years, is penetration into the backfield. Is multiple guys in that defensive line whooping their guy on the other side on the offensive line, the Seahawks offensive line, and it's standing out where the running backs have nowhere to go. Many people in my chat were getting caught up in this. Does this mean Charbonnet should have more carries than Walker? And neither guy was particularly overall effective. Neither guy averaged more than 4 yards a carry on the day. There were no holes to be had. It's not really about who the starting running back is. It's about when are we going to open up a damn hole for a running back? That's the question at this point. So this is a tough game end to end. The one maybe real bright spot we can talk about is the special team was awesome all the way around. Your kicking was great. Your punting was great. How you defended, even how you returned, was pretty solid on that other side of it. So, hey, at least that side was good. They get the big plus on their angle of it. But I think both with the offense and the defense, you're left wanting a little bit more. We're expecting a dominant defense. And that means if I get an offense that's this weekend walking into your house, game one, I want to kind of expect you put your stamp down on that team. I want to see some more 3 and outs if that's the type of defense you're supposed to be. And offensively speaking, you're here to get more of moving the chains and more of the balancing out of the time of possession. Part of what happened here with your defense is you left them out on that field in the second half over and over again to the point that the time of possession was well over, I think, 2-1 when this was all said and done. That's not going to get it done, and that's not the purpose of the offense we brought in. We're not looking for the big explosive plays all over the place like we have in prior offenses of the past. We're looking for more of the consistent moving of the chains to kind of better balance this whole team out overall. And if you got the time of possession a little bit more balanced out, might have protected the defense a little bit better, and that they're maybe a little bit fresher at the end of this football game. So everybody all around, maybe outside of the special teams, has to do better if this team is going to make any kind of noise this upcoming year. This is not a game that's going to necessarily mean that the rest of the season is going to go exactly this way or exactly that way. It is a long NFL season. The war of attrition takes part here. A team that can look good and they're rolling, they're strong, suddenly gets decimated by injuries, or it takes a bad left turn for them and there's something much more diminished by the time you get through the season. But overall, as you look at this team still coming out of this game, you go, again, lost opportunity, lost chance to kind of start to put out this right vibe of where you're trying to go, which is that we're ready to be a contending team. Doesn't mean I'm guaranteed to go win Super Bowls, that you're ready to rise up from being that mediocre to slightly good team and finally break through, finally crack on through. We're looking for the signs of that. And part of the signs of that come from, yes, you've had more wins than losses over the past 3 years, but what stands out in every one of those 3 seasons is that anytime that you've actually faced a playoff team, anytime you've actually faced a mighty challenger, that a lot of times they've taken you down and taken you down quite easily. We'll see if that's going to be a change here as we move into the rest of this season, but I don't know if this is a great indicator in game one that necessarily has been solved as it stands right now. We lick our wounds, we move on to next week. It is a long season. It is only the first game of the year. This is a division opponent, and weird things happen in division games. But the Niners might just have themselves a stranglehold on this division as we move into the future if they can stay healthy, because if they're able to play like this, beat us in the house like this right now, how are they going to be with maybe the easiest schedule in the entire NFL? Hold on to your butt cheeks, Seahawks fans. It might get a little bit bumpy, but the story of the Seattle Seahawks is not yet told in 2025. So keep the faith. Let's see what they can do moving this around to the Steelers next week. Keep the hope. But please don't you ever forget, go Hawks.